It could destroy an Allied tank from over 1.8 miles away. Its 88mm gun sent shockwaves through enemy lines before the shell even landed. To Allied soldiers, the mere distant rumble of its engine was enough to trigger immediate retreat. The German Tiger tank was an engineering marvel cloaked in myth, steel, and brutal efficiency. But despite commanding the battlefield with overwhelming firepower, the Tiger failed in every major battle it entered, defeated not by inferior weapons, but crushed by the weight of its own strategic and mechanical hubris. December 1942, the Eastern Front consumed German soldiers at catastrophic rates, while in the desert wastes of North Africa, British Crusader tanks began to outflank and overpower their aging panzer fleet. Hitler, calculating that psychological dominance could stem these losses, demanded not just a new tank, but a battlefield legend. The Wehrmacht faced a crushing reality. The Soviet T-34 had revolutionized tank warfare with its sloped armor and unprecedented mobility, forcing German engineers to work under crushing deadlines and impossible expectations. They weren't merely tasked with building a better tank. They needed to create a technological terror that could simultaneously restore German superiority, rebuild shattered morale, and turn the tide on two rapidly deteriorating fronts, thousands of miles apart. Enter Ferdinand Porsche and Henschel and Son, two industrial titans competing not merely for Hitler's approval, but for their place in warfare legacy. While Porsche's design featured revolutionary electrical transmission systems and cutting-edge engineering, it was Henschel's more conventional approach that ultimately prevailed, a machine balancing battlefield dominance with production feasibility. The resulting Panzerkampfwagen Sechsitzers Tiger emerged in August 1942, a 60-ton behemoth protected by armor plating up to 120 millimeters thick and armed with the devastating 88mm Kibuikwo 36 gun, capable of penetrating Allied tank armor at ranges exceeding 2 kilometers. Yet this engineering marvel carried profound strategic flaws. Each Tiger consumed resources equivalent to producing 3 American Shermans, required 300,000 man-hours to manufacture, and depleted critical wartime materials like tungsten, chromium, and molybdenum that Germany couldn't readily replace. Its Maybach HL-230 engine, impressive in specifications, proved dangerously unreliable under combat conditions. The Tiger wasn't merely expensive, it was catastrophically maintenance-intensive. Its transport required specialized railway flat cars with removable outer tracks. Its weight collapsed bridges, its intricate drive system failed in Russian mud, and its complex interleaved wheel system trapped frozen debris in winter conditions. When disabled, recovery teams often destroyed Tigers rather than risk retrieval. Germany had created the perfect tank for an idealized battlefield that didn't exist. A technological apex predator utterly unsuited for the war of attrition. It was fighting. First deployed in significant numbers during the Battle of Kursk in July 1943, the Tiger tanks initially manifested their terrifying potential. Strategically positioned in defensive formations and complemented by veteran Panzer Grenadier infantry, Tigers methodically devastated Soviet T-34s with surgical precision, establishing kill ratios that sometimes exceeded 10.1. Allied commanders rapidly rewrote their tactical doctrine, acknowledging that frontal assaults against Tigers were tantamount to suicide missions. Tank crews developed countermeasures, learning to attack from flanks, target vulnerable track systems, or simply avoid sectors where Tiger presence was suspected. But each Tiger's battlefield dominance exacted a devastating operational price. Units suffered crippling mechanical failures, requiring specialized components that took weeks to arrive from German factories. These mechanical leviathans needed to halt operations for cooling periods, frequently limiting effective range to merely 30 miles before critical systems began failing. Even at peak operational capacity, Tigers were too massive for standard European bridge infrastructure, forcing complicated detours or risky river crossings. Their tactical success became a strategic contradiction, simultaneously invincible yet immobilized by their own engineering complexity. The very characteristics that made them fearsome in direct combat rendered them fatally vulnerable to the overwhelming numerical superiority of Allied armor and the growing air dominance that would ultimately define the war's final phases. By the Normandy invasion in June 1944, the Tiger's mystique had evolved into a strategic paradox. Allied intelligence deliberately inflated its capabilities in briefings, simultaneously preparing troops for worst-case encounters while spurring unprecedented weapons development. British engineers fast-tracked the 17-pounder anti-tank gun, creating the Sherman Firefly with a single purpose: to penetrate Tiger armor at combat ranges. American forces countered with overwhelming numerical superiority, tactical mobility, and logistics brilliance, deploying 5 Shermans for every German tank and developing specialized flanking doctrines that exploited the Tiger's 60-degree-per-minute turret rotation limitation. Soviet forces, having faced Tiger's longest, perfected coordinated artillery barrages that immobilized tracks before tank swarms could isolate and destroy the behemoths. Most devastating was Allied air dominance, as P-47 Thunderbolts and Typhoon fighter bombers transformed the open countryside into killing zones, where any Tiger movement invited immediate attack from above. Field reports reveal the grim reality. Nearly 70% of Tiger losses came not from enemy tanks, but from air attacks, mechanical failures, fuel starvation, or tactical abandonment when crews couldn't extract their immobilized machines. By April 1945, fewer than 300 operational Tigers remained from the 1,347 produced, many rusting where they had simply run out of fuel. The ultimate war machine had become a tactical liability, requiring entire battle plans to revolve around protecting rather than deploying them. The Tiger embodied Nazi Germany's fundamental strategic miscalculation: that technical superiority alone could overcome logistical reality and overwhelming Allied production capacity. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. Yet even as the Tiger tank's myth expanded, its legacy reveals a profound truth about the brutality of industrial warfare. German engineers and commanders became entrapped in a technological arms race without considering the battlefield's merciless realities. The Tiger's power derived from psychological impact, creating a weapon so fearsome that mere rumors of its presence redirected Allied operations. But wars aren't won through intimidation. They're won through endurance, adaptability, and logistics. The Tiger was never designed for mass production or field repairs. It emerged from desperation and technological hubris, symbolizing Germany's attempt to out-engineer a world it could no longer defeat through conventional means. Its imposing silhouette and devastating firepower became testaments to strategic overreach, proving that engineering brilliance cannot compensate for logistical sustainability. The Tiger ultimately served as a 60-ton cautionary tale, a perfect illustration of what happens when ambition overwhelms practicality, when tactical effectiveness blinds strategists to operational limitations, and when weapons designers ignore the unforgiving laws of supply chains, terrain constraints, and mechanical reliability that govern modern warfare. In the post-war years, the Tiger's legacy was dissected, debated, and mythologized more than any other armored vehicle in military history. Western analysts pored over shattered hulls, calculating what might have happened if Germany had optimized for production scale rather than technical perfection. The Soviets respected the Tiger enough to prominently display captured units in military museums as trophies of technological superiority overcome. Beyond fascination, the Tiger sparked an evolutionary arms race in post-war tank design, its influence visible in everything from the Soviet IS-3 to the American M26 Pershing. Military academies worldwide still study the Tiger as a case study in paradoxical failure, where tactical brilliance became strategic liability. What the Tiger ultimately left behind wasn't a blueprint for dominance, but a warning etched in steel that reliability, mass production capability, and battlefield adaptability matter more than raw firepower or armor thickness. The Tiger remains iconic not for reshaping warfare, but for demonstrating warfare's most fundamental truth, that even the most terrifying weapon ever built will fail against superior logistics, production capacity, and strategic coherence. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. For modern military engineers and planners, the Tiger tank's cautionary tale endures as both inspiration and deterrent. Its design continues to captivate due to the sheer audacity of its ambition, pushing the boundaries of what was mechanically possible under mid-20th century constraints. The Pentagon still studies Tiger failures when developing next-generation combat vehicles, recognizing how easily technological hubris can overwhelm battlefield practicality. Nations cannot win by crafting marvels in isolation from the war economy, no matter how formidable their specifications appear on paper. The Tiger was systematically defeated not by superior tanks, but by superior systems, crushed between Allied production capacity and the unforgiving realities of mechanized warfare. Combat becomes a crucible not just for technological ingenuity, but for infrastructure, training, supply logistics, and tactical adaptability that support frontline units. When the final Tigers vanished from battlefields in 1945, they left behind not just twisted metal, but haunting reminders of engineering brilliance catastrophically misapplied. In those burned-out husks lay the central paradox of modern weapons development, a question every military planner must continuously confront. Will our next innovation truly serve the battlefield, or merely chase theoretical perfection while surrendering actual victory? But perhaps the Tiger's most sobering lesson isn't found in its hulking frame or daunting specifications, but in the invisible cost of choosing spectacle over strategy. In a war defined by speed, logistics, and global supply chains, the Tiger represented a catastrophic misallocation of resources, consuming critical materials, engineering talent, and manufacturing capacity that could have produced entire divisions of more practical vehicles. German high command confused tactical excellence with strategic advantage, failing to recognize that industrial warfare rewards simplicity, reliability, and quantity far more than technical superiority. When Tiger crews abandoned their fuel-starved behemoths in the war's final months, they left behind physical monuments to a fundamental strategic miscalculation that engineering brilliance alone could overcome numerical inferiority. The Tiger may have dominated individual engagements, creating momentary battlefield supremacy, but it ultimately became a 60-ton liability, representing not German military genius, but its fundamental failure to understand modern warfare's unforgiving arithmetic. No weapon, no matter how fearsome, can compensate for strategic short-sightedness, especially when facing enemies who mastered the true formula for victory: overwhelming production, systematic logistics, and ruthless practicality. In retrospect, the Tiger tank's demise mirrors the collapse of Nazi Germany's entire war machine, a regime that fundamentally believed technological supremacy could compensate for systemic failures in logistics, resource management, and strategic planning. The Tiger haunts military history not as a symbol of triumph, but as a warning against misallocated genius. Its story reverberates through modern military academies, from West Point to Sandhurst to Beijing, where instructors dissect both its engineering brilliance and the catastrophic assumptions underlying its deployment. Within each rusted hull, abandoned across European battlefields, lies a stark lesson in strategic short-sightedness, where immediate battlefield dominance was prioritized over sustainable warfare. When examining recovered Tigers from Russian steppes to French hedgerows, one finds not just a defeated weapon, but an engineering philosophy that sacrificed practicality for perfection. The Tiger ultimately failed not because Allied tanks were superior, but because Allied strategy was comprehensive, recognizing that industrial warfare rewards simplicity, reliability, and sheer production volume over technical superiority. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. The shadow cast by the Tiger tank extends into contemporary warfare, where military forces worldwide still struggle, balancing technological innovation against battlefield reality. When Russia unveiled its T-14 Armata with automated turret systems and active protection capabilities, it echoed the Tiger's pattern of revolutionary design, plagued by production challenges and prohibitive costs. Similarly, America's M1A2 Abrams, while formidable, requires extensive logistics chains, specialized transport aircraft, and astronomical fuel consumption that limits deployment flexibility. Modern military planners study the Tiger's failures as cautionary guidance, recognizing how easily ambitious engineering can become strategic vulnerability. Defense contractors and generals must interrogate not merely what a weapon can accomplish in ideal conditions, but how it performs when fuel supplies thin, spare parts vanish, and adversaries adapt. The Tiger ultimately wasn't defeated by superior Allied tanks, but by fundamental strategic miscalculation, a weapon system that sacrificed logistical sustainability for psychological impact, precision engineering for practical reliability, and theoretical excellence for battlefield adaptability. The lesson resonates across military planning tables worldwide, reminding us that wars are won through systems thinking, not singular technological superiority. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. In the end, the Tiger's legacy rests not in its mechanical prowess, but in what it reveals about the nature of war itself. Victory does not belong to the most fearsome weapon or the most brilliant design. It belongs to the nation that understands the full spectrum of warfare, from manufacturing floors to fuel depots to supply convoys trudging through mud and snow. The Tiger may have momentarily ruled stretches of scorched earth, but it was ultimately outmatched by a more holistic Allied war effort that fused simplicity, scalability, and resilience. Engineering excellence, taken in isolation, becomes meaningless when it cannot be replicated, repaired, or supported on the battlefield. The Tiger tank's fate reminds us that even the most intimidating machines are but tools of doctrine, and without the strategy to sustain them, they become monuments to lost potential. War is fought on assembly lines as much as on front lines, and in every smoldering wreck of an abandoned Tiger lies a final, damning truth. The finest weapon is powerless without the infrastructure, vision, and practicality to wield it effectively. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. Perhaps the most profound takeaway from the Tiger tank saga is its embodiment of technological tunnel vision, where innovation outran application and brilliance blinded decision-making. Germany's engineers achieved something unprecedented, a tank that outclassed every contemporary adversary in raw firepower and armor. Yet they did so in service of a regime that fundamentally misunderstood the nature of industrial warfare. The Tiger was never designed within a system built to sustain it, and thus, like many of Nazi Germany's so-called wonder weapons, it collapsed under its own weight. Its imposing silhouette continues to captivate generations of military historians, engineers, and enthusiasts, but beneath layers of steel and spectacle lies a sobering truth. In war, victory margins are measured not in millimeters of armor or kilometers of range, but in tons of supplies moved, hours of operational readiness maintained, and the seamless coordination of unglamorous logistics infrastructure. The Tiger tank didn't fall because it lacked devastating power. It fell because it couldn't be adequately fueled, repaired, reinforced, or deployed at scale. It terrified individual tanks and soldiers, but it never terrified Allied strategic planners who recognized its fundamental vulnerabilities. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas, and this one almost changed everything. Seen through the shattered optics of a defeated Tiger turret, the machine's legacy encapsulates warfare's most instructive paradox. It combined unparalleled firepower with catastrophic impracticality, becoming a permanent war museum exhibit not merely as artifact, but as cautionary philosophy. German crews who operated Tigers did so with a complex mixture of pride, exhaustion, and fatalism, manning stations inside a steel behemoth that could dominate individual engagements while steadily losing the broader campaign. Its psychological impact terrified Allied soldiers in direct confrontation, but never disrupted strategic planning tables where commanders recognized its fundamental vulnerabilities. Modern defense ministries worldwide have incorporated the Tiger's bitter lesson into procurement doctrine, challenging weapons developers to answer not just what can be engineered, but what can be supported in unpredictable combat environments. When examining recovered Tigers from European battlefields, military analysts find not just a defeated weapon, but an engineering mindset that prioritized theoretical excellence over battlefield sustainability. The Tiger stands silently in fields of rust and remembrance, a ghost in steel whispering to future generations that true battlefield dominance comes not from intimidation, but from integration of technology with logistics. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. And yet, in the very contradictions that doomed the Tiger, future militaries found their roadmap. Modern defense systems, from America's networked battlefield architecture to Russia's integrated air defense networks, reflect lessons painfully extracted from Germany's failures. Military planners worldwide now prioritize maintainability, interoperability, and adaptable logistics over raw technological superiority. The F-35 fighter program, despite its cutting-edge capabilities, faced intense scrutiny precisely because planners refused to repeat the Tiger's mistakes, demanding maintenance accessibility and parts commonality across variants. Similarly, when China developed its Type 99 main battle tank, engineers deliberately sacrificed theoretical armor maximums for practical field repairability. The Tiger's influence extends beyond hardware into military doctrine itself, where Western forces now prioritize combined arms operations that integrate air support, infantry, and armor, rather than relying on singular technological advantages. Its failure demonstrated that weapons must function within environmental extremes, from Arctic deployments to desert operations, rather than in idealized test conditions. The Tiger became not just a relic of engineering ambition, but the catalyst for a fundamental paradigm shift in how nations approach military development. Its ghost lingers not in German victory, but in the global understanding that battlefield dominance requires not the most powerful weapons, but the most adaptably deployed ones. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. Ultimately, The Tiger tank's story is not one of triumphant battlefield supremacy, but of haunting potential drained by flawed doctrine. It was a weapon of unmatched technical brilliance made irrelevant by the modern war it entered. Too heavy, too few, and too late. While German engineers perfected armor thickness and gun caliber, the Allies built victory on railroads, repair depots, fuel distribution networks, and interchangeable parts that could sustain prolonged campaigns across multiple theaters. The Tiger, despite its fearsome reputation, carried the curse of singular excellence in an age demanding collective efficiency and mass production. Its image remains seared into military consciousness, not because it conquered battlefields, but because it dramatically illustrated the fundamental peril of forgetting that hardware must serve strategy, not define it. The Tiger's terrifying silhouette haunts modern procurement offices, where planners evaluate weapon systems not just for their destructive capability, but for their sustainability within complex logistical networks. As long as nations pursue ultimate weapons, they must remember the Tiger, understanding why it roared so loudly across individual battlefields, yet ultimately died so alone when war revealed its true nature. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. So as we look back from today's battlefields of networked combat systems and hypersonic weapons, the Tiger tank stands not merely as an engineering achievement, but as a permanent strategic warning. It demonstrates that even the most formidable weapon system fails when divorced from logistical reality, production capacity, and battlefield adaptability. The Tiger's downfall wasn't a failure of engineering brilliance, but of strategic myopia. The fatal belief that technical superiority could overcome numerical disadvantage and supply chain vulnerability. Modern military planners from China to Israel study these hulking failures precisely because they epitomize how easily tactical excellence can mask strategic catastrophe. In every battlefield where Tigers were abandoned, not from enemy fire, but from mechanical failure or fuel starvation, we see warfare's unchangeable equation, that innovation detached from sustainability becomes vulnerability. The Tiger's imposing silhouette struck terror in individual encounters, while Allied assembly lines, standardized parts, and robust supply networks quietly constructed the architecture of actual victory. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. Perhaps most revealing is that the Tiger's legacy endures more as a symbol of failure than success. A case study underscoring that war punishes brilliance misaligned with circumstance. Armies today may marvel at its silhouette or collect fragments for museums, but within its remnants lies the echo of a lesson history has tried desperately to teach, that no machine, however advanced, can defeat the simple arithmetic of war. A weapon too costly to mass produce, too complex to sustain, and too inflexible to adapt becomes irrelevant in the face of coordinated, scalable opposition. The Tiger represented the pinnacle of engineering achievement divorced from strategic reality. A weapon so formidable in direct combat, yet so fundamentally flawed in sustained warfare. Military academies worldwide still analyze its contradictions, not to replicate its firepower, but to avoid its fatal disconnection between tactical excellence and operational sustainability. The Tiger tank was war's most powerful single voice, drowned out by the rising chorus of Allied effectiveness. It was, in every measurable sense, extraordinary, and yet it failed spectacularly. In that profound contradiction, its caution resonates louder than its thunderous gun. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. Thus, the Tiger tank endures not because it changed the outcome of World War II, but because it nearly fooled the world into believing it could. It was built to inspire fear and awe, and in that respect, it succeeded. But fear proved fleeting when confronted with battlefield realities, and awe could not outlast relentless attrition. The lessons it embedded are not entombed in its rivets or cannon, but written into the doctrines of every military force that emerged in its wake. Its failure is now taught as fundamental strategic gospel, that survivability is not about theoretical invincibility, but practical supportability, that a weapon system must reflect the broader strategy it serves rather than dictating it. When German engineers crafted the Tiger, they created not merely a tank, but a watershed moment in military history when human technological ambition collided with logistical impossibility and shattered under its own weight. Even today, military strategists dissect its remains not to replicate its power, but to avoid its fatal disconnection between tactical excellence and strategic sustainability. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. In the final analysis, the Tiger tank stands not just as an armored relic of a lost war, but as a testament to the fragile balance between ambition and application in military innovation. Historians and engineers continue to scrutinize its design not for what it achieved, but for the warning etched into its very armor, that without seamless integration of firepower, production scalability, logistical sustainability, and strategic coherence, even the most formidable weapons become monuments to defeat. The Tiger represented engineering virtuosity that fundamentally misunderstood the arithmetic of total war, creating battlefield dominance at the cost of strategic vulnerability. Its tactical excellence masked catastrophic operational weaknesses, consuming critical resources while delivering diminishing returns as the war expanded. What makes the Tiger eternally fascinating isn't just its intimidating silhouette or devastating firepower, but how perfectly it embodied the fatal disconnect between German technological brilliance and the brutal realities of industrial warfare. In its downfall, militaries worldwide discovered an enduring principle: that future conflicts will not be decided by the most terrifying machines, but by the most adaptable, maintainable, and systematically deployed technologies. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. Even today, the rusted carcasses scattered in European forests and meticulously restored museum specimens draw crowds worldwide, captivated not by the Tiger's victories, but by its spectacular failures. These steel monuments silently testify to misplaced engineering priorities, revealing how Germany's most brilliant minds created a battlefield titan that ultimately collapsed under its own philosophical weight. Military procurement officers study these hulking remains not merely as historical curiosities, but as cautionary totems, analyzing how a weapon system so formidable in direct combat proved fatally vulnerable to the unglamorous yet decisive realities of fuel consumption, spare parts availability, and strategic mobility. The Tiger's enduring legacy lies not in triumphal memory, but in procurement seminars and strategic planning sessions, where modern militaries confront the essential question: how do we balance technological superiority against operational sustainability? In answering this question, nations acknowledge the true nature of conflict. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. The Tiger tank, once the embodiment of battlefield supremacy, has become a defining symbol of warfare's harshest lesson: the danger of perfection pursued in isolation. Walk the halls of any military museum worldwide, and the Tiger's presence dominates as both technological marvel and strategic warning. For all its engineering brilliance and psychological impact, it could not escape war's fundamental equation that tactical excellence becomes meaningless when supply chains collapse, when field repairs prove impossible, and when strategic vision fractures under the weight of over-engineered complexity. Its preserved specimens and battlefield recoveries now serve as educational cornerstones for military academies globally, teaching that the most powerful weapons are not necessarily the most effective. From Pentagon planning sessions to Russian defense ministries to Chinese procurement offices, the Tiger's shadow influences how modern armies balance innovation against practicality. The Tiger exemplified German engineering virtuosity while simultaneously revealing its strategic blindness, a masterpiece of intimidating design that ultimately delivered a muted roar against the overwhelming, methodical, and relentlessly practical Allied war machine. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. In the Tiger's final chapter, as Allied forces surged into the heart of Germany, the last surviving tanks fought not for victory, but for symbolism. Often isolated, low on fuel, and manned by increasingly inexperienced crews, these titanic machines became little more than static bunkers, holding ground that no longer mattered strategically. Yet their presence continued to delay advances, drawing disproportionate Allied resources and careful planning, a testament to their lingering psychological impact. German High Command, desperate for propaganda victories, deployed these precious few Tigers to defensive positions, where they could claim maximum kills before inevitable loss, sometimes ordering crews to fight until their ammunition was exhausted, rather than preserve the machines. Recovered battlefield reports reveal the grim reality of these final engagements, where Tigers destroyed 10 or more Allied tanks before being abandoned by crews who could neither refuel nor repair their positions. This disproportionate combat effectiveness, even in defeat, paradoxically reinforced the strategic miscalculation that had doomed the program from the start. The Tiger began as a revolutionary weapon, but ended as a relic in real time, left behind not in the museums of peacetime, but in the muddy fields of a crumbling Third Reich. For all the myths it inspired and the tactics it revolutionized, the Tiger stands as perhaps the clearest reminder that technological supremacy must serve strategic clarity, or it becomes a monument not to what was achieved, but to what was wasted in pursuit of battlefield dominance without operational sustainability. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. And so the Tiger's legacy endures, not in the victories it never secured, but in the miscalculations it immortalized. It stands preserved in military academies, engineering curricula, and strategic simulations as the quintessential case study where technical brilliance collided with strategic short-sightedness. Modern defense contractors analyze its revolutionary armament systems while simultaneously warning against its catastrophic maintenance profile. The Pentagon and competing global powers study not just its formidable specifications, but the fatal production bottlenecks that rendered it strategically irrelevant. What makes the Tiger eternally compelling is not its combat record, but its perfect encapsulation of warfare's cruel paradox, that breakthrough technology divorced from systemic thinking becomes vulnerability rather than advantage. Its presence in museums worldwide draws military professionals who stand before its imposing hull not in admiration, but in professional contemplation of how such engineering brilliance could yield such comprehensive defeat. The Tiger's greatest value may be that it conclusively proved what military theorists had argued for centuries, that wars are won through balanced capabilities, production scalability, and logistical resilience, rather than through isolated tactical superiority. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas, and this one almost changed everything. In the end, the Tiger tank remains etched in history not for what it accomplished, but for what it failed to become. Its silhouette looms larger than its wartime impact, a case where fear, fascination, and fantasy overshadow cold battlefield statistics. It taught generations of military minds the starkest truth about war, that even the most intimidating machine is worthless without repeatable support, scalable production, and a doctrine grounded in reality. When examining the Tiger, we confront the fundamental disconnect between engineering excellence and strategic implementation. Despite destroying Allied tanks at stunning ratios, sometimes exceeding 10.1 in direct combat, the Tiger program hemorrhaged critical resources that could have produced entire divisions of more practical vehicles. Its presence altered tactical doctrines across all Allied forces, yet failed to influence the strategic outcome precisely because it existed outside the sustainable logistics framework necessary for modern warfare. The Tiger reverberates not as a triumph of German engineering, but as a solemn war requiem composed in steel and error. In its failure lies enduring instruction for every nation tempted to believe that sheer technological brilliance can defy the crushing calculus of modern warfare. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. Thus, the Tiger tank endures not merely as a tale of battlefield ferocity, but as a fixed point in the narrative of military futility when innovation outruns realism. It is studied in simulation hubs, dissected in combat engineering forums, and remembered not for reshaping victory, but for refining the way victory must be pursued. The Tiger taught that weapons exist within systems, not in vacuums. No doctrine, no theory can afford to ignore fuel distribution, spare part availability, crew training, and the capacity to field enough units to matter. For all its roaring dominance in isolated skirmishes, it became an orphaned titan in a war redefined by scalability and sustainability. Modern defense planners at NATO headquarters, Russian military academies, and Chinese procurement offices all reference the Tiger when evaluating new weapon systems, asking not just what a platform can destroy, but whether it can be sustained. Its technical specifications continue to impress, but its strategic failures serve as the more valuable lesson. The Tiger remains the most elegant failure in wartime history, not because it did too little, but because it tried to do too much and did so alone. Its ghost haunts every engineering team tempted to pursue perfect performance at the expense of practical deployment. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. So the Tiger tank closes its chapter not as a victorious juggernaut, but as the enduring embodiment of warfare's most alluring trap, believing that technical brilliance alone can win a war. Its thunder may have echoed through the forests of the Ardennes and the steppes of Kursk, but its influence now lives quietly in procurement offices and strategic planning rooms, where military leaders study its failures more than its feats. It serves as a steel-bound warning for balance, a reminder that strength without adaptability is brittle, that dominance without sustainability is fleeting, and that the future of warfare belongs to systems interdependent, scalable, and resilient. The Tiger excelled at winning battles while losing the war, demonstrating that even the most fearsome individual weapon cannot overcome strategic short-sightedness and logistical fragility. In museums worldwide, its imposing silhouette still commands reverence, not for what it accomplished, but for what it teaches about the brutal arithmetic of industrial conflict. The Tiger was a singular marvel that tried to shoulder a plural war, and in doing so, it taught the most enduring lesson of all. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas, and this one almost changed everything. And thus, among the burned-out hulks and faded blueprints, rests the Tiger tank's final memorial, not one cast in bronze or stone, but in algorithms, doctrines, and simulation parameters that inform every modern war machine. It is a weapon whose legacy resides in what it prevented more than what it achieved, a symbol that quietly steered the future away from obsession with unscalable perfection. Engineers now prioritize modularity over marvels, generals favor supply chains over singular showstoppers, and nations wager wars not on isolated excellence, but on cohesive systems prepared to adapt and endure. The Tiger tank roared briefly, but echoed endlessly, as military academies worldwide now analyze not merely its terrifying statistics, but its profound strategic vulnerabilities. From the Pentagon, to Moscow, to Beijing, its cautionary influence shapes procurement guidelines demanding that weaponry function within logistical realities rather than despite them. Modern defense contractors must answer not just for firepower and protection, but for field maintenance requirements, fuel efficiency, and parts commonality across platforms. The Tiger's ghost haunts every engineering team tempted toward overspecialization, reminding them that the most elegant solution often proves the most brittle in wartime chaos. In the cold calculus of modern war, its memory endures not to glorify domination, but to remind every commander and every designer that the most powerful weapon is the one that works, again and again, under pressure, in mud, without glamour, but with relentless reliability. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. As the curtain falls on the Tiger's saga, it does so with a tragic dignity, emblematic of all weapons that burn brightly before collapsing beneath their own ambition. Engineered with precision, deployed with desperation, and remembered with reverence tempered by regret, no other weapon of World War II so perfectly symbolized the intersection of technological triumph and strategic blindness. The Tiger promised battlefield dominance, yet delivered strategic disillusionment. While it never accomplished its intended purpose of turning the tide of a global war, it succeeded in leaving behind a legacy of sobering clarity about modern conflict's unforgiving arithmetic. The Tiger's hulking presence in museums worldwide serves as an object lesson etched in rivets and rust, a story not of conquest but of fatal impracticality. Military academies worldwide study its remains not to replicate its power, but to avoid its disconnection between tactical excellence and operational sustainability. Let history remember the Tiger not just for the Allied tanks it destroyed, but for how it reshaped military thinking, forcing every subsequent army to confront the eternal truth that engineering brilliance, in war, must always be tempered by logistical pragmatism. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. So as we move beyond battlefield relics into modern strategic planning rooms and procurement offices shaping tomorrow's arsenals, the Tiger tank persists as the quintessential embodiment of military overreach. It represents that critical juncture when human ingenuity, detached from the brutal arithmetic of total war, created a technological marvel that collapsed under the weight of the very conflict it was designed to dominate. Military engineers worldwide still study its revolutionary armor composition and ballistic capabilities, but strategic commanders extract a far more valuable lesson: the catastrophic cost of mistaking intimidation for victory, engineering excellence for strategic advantage. The Tiger's imposing silhouette now serves as a permanent warning within defense ministries globally, where weapon systems are evaluated not merely for their theoretical performance, but for their practical sustainability across unpredictable battlefields. Every procurement guideline demanding field repairability, fuel efficiency, and production scalability carries the Tiger's invisible influence, a haunting reminder that even the most formidable weapon becomes meaningless without the logistical infrastructure to sustain it. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. In the end, the Tiger tank is remembered not for altering the course of World War II, but for revealing the immutable rules governing warfare in the modern age. It was a beast designed to conquer, to dominate, and to awe, yet it became a sobering monument to strategic failure masked as tactical brilliance. Historians, engineers, and military strategists continue to revisit its legend, not simply to admire its engineering, but to comprehend its demise. The Tiger showed the world that firepower, no matter how overwhelming, remains powerless without supporting infrastructure. That no battlefield success can compensate for systemic logistical neglect. Through its hulking remains scattered across European battlefields, the Tiger became the steel crucible in which the seductive myth of technological supremacy was tested against the brutal reality of global war and found catastrophically wanting. As modern battlefields grow increasingly technical and networked, the Tiger remains a silent sentinel whispering across decades, cautioning military planners not to confuse capability with capacity, nor innovation with victory. Its legacy endures not in triumph, but in the fundamental strategic principle it unintentionally proved, that sustainable effectiveness will always defeat unsupported excellence. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. And so, as the sun sets over the rusted hulks that once defied entire divisions, the Tiger tank offers a final, humble lesson, engraved not in chrome or steel, but in the annals of strategic wisdom. Its story, replayed in classrooms, simulations, and intelligence briefings, endures not as a relic of power, but a compass for restraint. Nations that study its rise and fall gain more than military insight. They inherit a philosophy of warfare shaped by the unromantic pillars of endurance, economy, and execution. The Tiger proves that the most dangerous weapon is not one that fails its enemy, but one that betrays its creator through unsustainable brilliance. In modern defense ministries worldwide, procurement officers examine new weapon systems with the Tiger's ghost at their shoulder, demanding not just capability, but sustainability, not merely power, but practicality. What makes the Tiger eternally relevant isn't its intimidating silhouette or devastating firepower, but how perfectly it embodied the fatal disconnect between technological aspiration and battlefield reality. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. This is where the Tiger tank's legend ultimately finds its place, not in battlefield dominance or campaign-changing victories, but in the enduring caution it offers to every age of warfare. For all its staggering firepower and engineering audacity, it stood as a monument to the perils of designing weapons for glory instead of for victory. It promised terror, but delivered entrapment, basked in myth, but was shackled by reality. In every bolt and gear of its chassis lies a warning to future generals and defense planners. Brilliance that cannot be fielded, supported, or replaced has no place on a modern battlefield. The Tiger tank didn't just underscore the limits of military technology, it defined them. And as long as wars are waged and strategies are written, its story will echo through the doctrine of every commander wise enough to learn not just how wars are fought, but how they are won. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. It ends where it began, in awe, in ambition, and ultimately in ashes. The Tiger tank, born from a nation's desperate bid to reclaim battlefield dominance, became the most infamous paradox of the Second World War. Its massive chassis and devastating gun represented the pinnacle of German engineering precision, yet paradoxically symbolized a fundamental misunderstanding of industrial warfare. While Allied factories produced reliable Shermans and T-34s by the tens of thousands, each Tiger consumed resources that could have built multiple conventional tanks, creating isolated moments of battlefield supremacy that proved strategically meaningless. The Tiger's silhouette struck terror into Allied tankers, yet could not prevent Germany's inexorable collapse under the weight of overwhelming production capacity. Its design continues to captivate military enthusiasts and engineers worldwide, but its true legacy endures in military procurement offices, where planners rigorously scrutinize not just weapon capabilities, but sustainability requirements. In every supply chain analysis, battlefield simulation, and hardware acquisition document today, echoes of the Tiger persist, reminding commanders that no matter how fearsome, no weapon can overcome logistical reality. The Tiger taught us that when engineering ambition outpaces strategic coherence, and when design defies the practical demands of sustained warfare, even titans fall. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. In its final reckoning, the Tiger tank is less a story of iron and fire than of caution and consequence. It encapsulates the harsh truth that in war, grandeur without grounding becomes liability, not asset. For every Allied vehicle it destroyed, the cost in time, materials, and strategic opportunity proved exponentially greater. Today's military forces worldwide do not remember the Tiger for battlefield victories, but for its unintended lessons. It stands alongside other Nazi Wunderwaffe as a sobering reminder that warfare rewards not the tallest peaks of engineering innovation, but the widest plateaus of reliability, distribution, and cohesion. Its legend persists not as a triumph of tank warfare, but as the clearest expression of the military engineer's ultimate dilemma, creating not the best weapon in theory, but the right one in practice. In every modern procurement decision, failed prototype, or stalled logistics system, the Tiger's ghost whispers its most enduring truth, that psychological intimidation cannot overcome practical sustainability. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. So let the final word on the Tiger tank be this. It remains one of history's most potent symbols of brilliance undone by imbalance. Neither its 88mm cannon nor its towering profile could shield it from the battlefield's most silent adversaries, shortages, delays, and overreach. In a war that rewarded speed, numbers, and adaptability, the Tiger was burdened by its own majesty. It stunned its enemies, but it stalled itself. Its fate is not a monument of defeat, but a milestone of understanding. In every logistical spreadsheet, in every field maintenance manual, in every lesson plan of modern war colleges, the Tiger's presence lingers, not to glorify power, but to illuminate the price of neglecting sustainability. The Tiger tank taught the world that spectacular might divorced from strategic coherence is not a path to victory, but a caution issued in thunder and silence. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything. And as the echoes of its treads fade into history, the Tiger tank leaves behind a legacy far greater than its battlefield record. It stands not as a relic of German might, but as a masterclass in what modern militaries must vigilantly avoid, a lesson not written in doctrine, but forged in failure. Its tale now reinforces a universal military ethic, that innovation must align with sustainment, and that a weapon's true value is measured across time, terrain, and supply lines. From the Pentagon to Moscow to Beijing, planners scrutinize not just firepower, but logistical footprints, seeking weapons that dominate through reliability rather than raw specifications. The tiger's hulking silhouette, forever etched in military consciousness, reminds us that victory belongs not to those who build the loudest weapon, but to those who build the most sustainable system. It captured humanity's endless quest for mastery over war's chaos, only to reveal that even perfection in steel can founder when it ignores the quiet invincibility of logistics. War isn't just fought with bullets, it's fought with ideas. And this one almost changed everything.